A very foundational thing I think we get twisted in American politics is the idea that it's us versus them. It's us, the Democrats. It's us, the Republicans. It's us, the independents, against, the other party, because they are just completely miseducated. They want nothing but harm in this world, and they don't know what they're talking about. However, I think in reality, it should be us, the people, versus the government. A lot of founding fathers, I think about, push this rhetoric more than anyone. You think about George Washington, James Madison, the people who are responsible for founding this country. James Madison very plainly said that the government answers to the Constitution and the Constitution answers to the people. I think people really need to understand that these politicians we elect should not be ruling over us per se, but rather agents of what we prescribe. And on to that point, James Madison also, duly notes that the idea of someone who is political and is not power seeking, is inherently a good person. Um, there is no politician, in my opinion, that does not care for power. Something it takes to be a politician is that innate desire to have power. So you have to take that, with a grain of salt in the sense that these constitutional rights that you're afforded, maybe you find them in the amendments. A lot of people like to pick out, amendments 1 through 10, their civil liberties and things like that. Your rights actually, in my opinion, expand far beyond the Constitution. Um, Politicians are the people we employ, and a lot of even Supreme Court doctrine states that very plainly. You think about Powell v. McCormack, um, where the Supreme Court very plainly ruled it is not up to the House to exclude a member from serving office. The ultimate judges are the people, us, ourselves. And I think very plainly this two-party system we have eliminates, quite frankly, destroys that idea that we as people need to understand our power within, American politics and the political structure as a whole. Um, Most politicians, um, I would generalize to say all politicians, are very greedy in terms of power. And in my personal book, I find the best presidents to be the ones who don't want to be in the spotlight, who don't want that power, who are kind of forced their way into it, namely Eisenhower. And as this channel progresses, I will talk very heavily, as I am very biased, as he is my favorite president. But I digress. But what I was going to highlight was the idea that all authority should be questioned. There shouldn't be anyone you trust in government. They answer to you. They are employed by you. You deserve to know what is going on. And, the idea of protesting, free press, general, free assembly, all these things were not even granted to you until the late 20s and, maybe even 30s in the 1900s. These ideas of civil liberties were originally supposed to be only a federal protection, not even through the states, and B, were supposed to be, economic liberties. The idea that you have your free speech in the idea of your economic affairs. But, fortunately, as time went on, the Supreme Court has expanded those into, more than just economics. And it goes to show that the states do have their own power. The Constitution will get bent, will get screwed, will get, stretched. But it's up to the people who are above the Constitution in terms of power to set those boundaries very plainly and very clearly by, checking all authority. And I think that has become extremely difficult under this two-party system. And a two-party system by far was not preferred and not supported by any candidate, any founding father, any framer of the Constitution. So my question is why, this two-party system, why has it engulfed us? Is that a blame we have to put on the founding fathers who have not secured a government strong enough to prevent a two-party system? Is it sort of a paradox, the idea that we can't escape a two-party system? I mean, you look at foreign, governments, parliaments, things like that. A lot of them form coalitions to form a government, and they can then enact power much quicker. And a lot of people have argued that a more centralized government is more favorable. But you look at the founding principles of the framers, in the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson ends um, the Declaration of Independence by saying, "We, the 13 states," plural, not state. And back in the day, a state meant clearly, you know, a governing body. So it was very intentional, the idea that each state was very diverse in its own right. And I can't say I support the idea of a stronger and stronger centralized government as time goes on, because that in itself just makes the people less and less. Now, that isn't to be confused with the idea of the dog whistle of states' rights that a lot of hardlining, conservatives or Confederate sympathizers say the Civil War is about states' rights. Well, quite plainly, it was your state right to own slavery. So I'm not beating the drum that of states' rights in the sense that I support a government where the federal government has no limit, or the federal government has a hardened limit and the states have more power. I mean, that's a confederacy and nobody wants that. But what I am saying is that this two-party system has clearly hazed and blurred, especially the idea that we as a people are above the Constitution and certainly above our elected officials. So in an idealistic world, it's not me versus Republicans. It's not me versus Democrats. It should be us, we the people, against, those in government who seek authority, who seek more power, who seek legislative, you know, power and the idea to enforce the law. It's us who has that ultimate power. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy your day, and I'll see you all tomorrow.